Hello, this is a review of the new drama, The Judge, rated 15 here in the UK. It's a part courtroom drama, part family drama, starring Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall. Now, Robert Downey Jr. is coming up on his 10th year, I suppose, of his big comeback of sorts. He's had certainly an eventful personal life and on and off the screen. He's had some successes and some less successes. He first came back with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang in 2005. Did incredibly well with the Marvel films as Tony Stark / Iron Man, and here he is as a big shot lawyer from Chicago, well, based in Chicago, more importantly. So, right, just checking through my notes. So yeah, directed by David Dobkin. Most known for a few comedies he's directed, Fred Claus and Wedding Crashers, both starred Vince Vaughn, both not dramas in any sense of the word at all. So, not what you'd expect from him, but he had story credit on this film, as he did two other films, which are not dramas either. R.I.P.D., the rather disastrous comic book adaptation comedy trying to be like Men in Black but with dead people, Ryan Reynolds' vehicle that came out the other year, which wasn't good, and story credit on Jack the Giant Slayer, which also was not as bad as R.I.P.D. but still not particularly good in my opinion. Cinematographer here is Janusz Kaminski, who you may recognise from his work with Steven Spielberg. He seems to have pretty much been the cinematographer for Spielberg in pretty much every film since, and including Schindler's List. Done very impressive work with the likes of Saving Private Ryan, which has had a big impact on things, and he probably has the most visual impact on the film, more than the director does. You can say, this is directed by the director of photography was Janusz Kaminski, rather than going, this was a David Dobkin film. Okay, so the film, we've got Judge Joseph Palmer, played by Robert Duvall. I checked up on IMDb. He's got, at the present, on IMDb, he's got 141 different credits, which is, various things, going right back to the Godfather films. He's in all sorts. Very successful screen actor for many, many years. Robert Downey Jr. plays his son, Hank Palmer, who is a very successful defense lawyer in Chicago. He moved away from his small town many years ago and never looked back, really. Right at the beginning of the film, he's defending a clearly guilty person, and gets a phone call from his family to tell him that his mum's died. So he rushes back to small town Indiana, where he's from. In the small town, his dad, the judge of the title, was the main judge in this town for the last 42 years, and so he's had a big impact and is very well known and liked by a certain portion of the town and disliked by others. So the premise of the film, it's partly Robert Downey Jr.'s character dealing with life back in this small town, and the ups and downs of coming into contact with people he used to know and his family. But at the heart of the film is a courtroom drama where he defends his father, who, on the day of his wife's funeral, he, after the funeral, takes his car out for a drive and runs someone over. The person dies, and in the end there's a murder trial. Clearly he did run the person over. This is not a spoiler at all, you'll find this out in a few minutes of the film, that there's blood found on the car that matches the victim. But the judge doesn't remember doing this. And so the case is about proving, is he pretending to remember this, and why can't he remember, and the difficulties that may be there. And it's very interesting in its attempts to build what in a sense is a very simple open and shut case. It's either did it or you didn't mean to do it. At first he is very against having Robert Downey Jr. represent him as a defence, because they don't get on. They haven't got on for many years. Probably all of Robert Downey Jr.'s character's life, there's been an issue, really. They disagree on many issues, and he doesn't want to defend his father, and his father doesn't want to be defended by his son. But in the end, he ends up slightly inevitably, after arguments, defending him. Billy Bob Thornton plays the prosecuting lawyer. Doesn't really get to do a great deal. Has a few moments with Downey Jr.'s character, and that's about it, really. He's not really anything for him to do apart from object here and there, as the prosecuting lawyers tend to do in these types of films. Vincent D'Onofrio is Glenn, who is the older brother of Robert Downey Jr.'s character. And then there's an actor called Jeremy Strong, who I don't believe I've recognised from anything else. He plays Dale, the younger brother of the three brothers. His character clearly has autism at some level. It's not a bad thing. Clearly a choice. It doesn't, unless I missed the bit when I nipped to the loo, it's not really mentioned in any way. It sort of plays a role in that his way of coping with things is to film a lot of events on a Super 8 film camera. This leads to a plot point around him filming an incident which affected his older brother Glenn, where he got injured in a car crash that Robert Downey Jr. was driving, which led to Vincent D'Onofrio's character being injured, and so his promising baseball career was cut short. So it's not a great deal of character development or anything really happening for the other two brothers on the whole, but they do a fair job at filling those roles, I suppose. So overall, the film is riddled with cliches. It's fairly predictable what's going to happen. It's very sentimental with that, but at the same time, I think its small town charm worked on me in a way. Maybe I was just in the right frame of mind for this sort of film today when I saw it. Maybe there's nothing wrong with a bit of cheesiness and sentimentality here and there. Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall's performances are definitely the glue that hold this film together. Both of them give great performances. They're really good in their roles. Certain events are at times difficult to watch as they come together more as the film progresses, and certain difficulties are portrayed in a very sensitive way, I felt. At times I may have had something in my eye or something at a couple of points, and it may not affect everyone in that same way, but it did me, because maybe just how the film was, I suppose, and certain subjects with fatherhood and that sort of thing may have affected me more than it may others. You know, as I said earlier, the film was shot nicely, wasn't nothing fancy, and at times it felt like the almost the first real serious film from the director. Sort of criticism, you know, everyone's got to start somewhere, and as a first dramatic film, it does a fine job. I have to say, I liked it. It's not great film, it's not brilliant, and I'm sure I may be a lot harsher on it in a different frame of mind, maybe, but, you know, if you're scrolling through Netflix in 6 months' time when it's on there, I'd say give it a watch. Maybe, you know, if it's on TV in a couple of years, give it a watch, you know. Don't rush out and see it, maybe, because, you know, it's not the most exciting film. If you want only exciting films and you're a Robert Downey Jr. fan from the stuff he's done the last few years with the likes of Sherlock Holmes or Iron Man, you're not gonna necessarily enjoy this if that's what you're expecting, but that doesn't mean it's not a decent performance he gives. Yeah, I got something from it, and that's all that can be said at the end of the day. When it comes to reviews, for me, they are personal things. I'm not definitively saying this film is good or bad. You know, that's not an objective statement. It can't be. I find people who review films, whether they're professional critics, reviewers of some sort who do it part-time, people who like to review films, people have different attitudes towards the way that they view film critique in the reviewing process. There is not a set of 100 best films to watch. There's just not. There are 100 films that I may like, and 100 films that you may like, and there may be 50 in there that we could agree on, that we both like, but it doesn't mean either of us is wrong. People have different tastes, and I think that's important to know. Just because I like this, you may watch it and think, what is he talking about? I completely disagree with everything he said. And that's fine. You're welcome to think that, and that's more... Well, that's, you know, that's more to you, and good for you. Have that opinion. Watch something and judge it. If you judge something based on a film trailer or someone else's review, then you're missing out in a way. I'm not saying watch every film, because that'd be ridiculous, but once you've watched something, then you can think something of it. As you may notice, I'm using the piece of software called FaceRig. This is the Halloween makeup on the default character of the software called Fluffo, who's a little beary, squirrely type thing. He's got sort of Halloween clown makeup on, I suppose, and it's on some level fairly distracting from reviewing a fairly serious film, but at the same time, I don't care. You know, I think it's quite amusing, and sometimes you need amusing things to juxtapose less amusing things. If you find it distracting, then I apologise. But you can always minimise the video. Well, it's a bit too late now, but you could have minimised the video and just listened to the words and got something from the review. I'm not going to edit this and put this at the beginning as a warning, but maybe if you see that you want to listen to the review and it's a weird Halloween thing, then maybe you could do that next time. I don't know. I find using FaceRig quite a useful tool for me. I may go into that in a more detail in a future video. I think I've rabbited on long enough now. Do really need to look at what's the word? Editing? Not editing what I say, but maybe trying to be a bit more brief, but at the same time I like being honest and rambling on some level, and I find some YouTube videos are constantly jump cut because take a breath and it's a slight pause of half a second and they want it to be bang 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 straight into what someone's saying constantly, and it's not natural. You know, if you're editing for a film or something non-vloggy and it's your face or doing that, you wouldn't jump cut like that, and I find it distracting. For this has just been one take of me rambling on for 15 minutes now, and if you've got this far, well done, and if not, then you aren't hearing this anyway, so whatever. I'll leave it at that and talk about something different on another day. Thank you.